Good morning and welcome to Veterans Heartbeat, on the pulse of the veteran, where we discuss issues of health, happiness, opportunity, and well-being of interest to the veteran community, their families, and the community who honors them.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Veterans Heartbeat, brought to you by River, the Rural Institute for Veterans Education and Research. My name is Jason Zencraft. My co-host Ed Lisofsky is here with me, and he is the Executive Director of River. We welcome you to a weekly wide-ranging discussion of issues, events, opportunities, and needs in our veteran community. Morning, Ed. How you doing?
Morning, Jason.
We'd also like to thank our sponsor, Farside Signs. They create amazing-looking vehicle graphics that will drive traffic to your business. They are located at 1526 South Avenue West in Missoula. Follow them on the web, Instagram, and Facebook, or just stop on by.
All right, so this morning we're really pleased to have Troy Downing and Dr. Bart Billings, who's a retired Army Colonel psychologist. And Bart has written a book. Bart, good morning. Good morning, Troy. How you guys doing this morning?
Morning, thank you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having us.
Bart and Troy, I wanted the two of you together because I'm in receipt of a letter that the VA doctor that just quit this Missoula CBOC wrote to all of her patients. And I know that you guys have been concerned about the care that the VA has been giving. And I'm going to read just parts of the letter itself. I'm not going to take time for the whole thing. But one of the paragraphs says, admittedly, there's been an ever-increasing set of challenges here over the past years to deliver primary care at the level I believe you deserve. This has played heavily in my decision-making process. These ever-increasing barriers hinder my ability, strength, and attitude to keep delivering this care to you. I will be functioning as a home-based physician in the VA system in another region where resources are appropriated to meet the diverse and critical healthcare needs of my patients. With the correct allocation of providers to patients, I'm confident that I can continue caring for the veteran population in the respectful, attentive manner they deserve and need. Troy, have you got any comments on those two paragraphs?
Well, obviously, it's disturbing to hear that. I have to agree with, what was said towards the end there, that, the care that they deserve and need. And as I'm sure everybody, on this call and the folks listening to this understand, is, we need to take care of our servicemen and women. We struggle with that in Montana, and we need to understand what the problems are and address those. Because if we have problems like addressed in this letter, where we've got somebody who's leaving apparently because they're not getting the support or whatever it is that they need to be effective in that role, we need to dig deeply and understand what's causing that to happen, address that, and fix it.
Dr. Billings, you've been working very hard with your program to get the veterans off of all the different medications. Can you explain that a little bit better?
Yes. There's been cases at the VA, such as I live in San Diego area, the VA in San Diego, where a veteran, a Marine, committed suicide, and the Veterans Administration Inspector General came in to investigate it and determined that this veteran committed suicide due to several errors made in his treatment in terms of standard of care. Basically, he was giving a whole bunch of psychiatric medications, including opiates, and it was a perfect storm for suicide, and he killed himself. This is not the first time I've seen it. These brain-altering medications have black box warnings, and the first side effect, adverse reaction, is suicidality. And also there's homicide as well. All the mass shooters in schools, just about every one, was either on or recently on psychiatric brain-altering meds. My approach, I've been in mental health for 50 years, put 34 years in the military, and wrote a book about this called Invisible Scars, is integrative treatment is a treatment of choice. I started when I was a hospital commander, the International Military and Civilian Combat Stress Conference. We're going in their 25th year. Over these years, it's been established that integrative treatment, which can include anything from just counseling, biofeedback, guided imagery, et cetera, acupuncture, is a treatment of choice for our combat vets, and without brain-altering medications.
Well, okay, let's hit the nail on the head here a little bit. Thursday night, we put up 53 flags for the 53 veterans that officially completed suicide last year. This memorial had 18 crosses set aside because those crosses represent those in Missoula County. Troy, what's going on here? Why are we at the epicenter of the suicide crisis for the veterans? Do you have a clue?
You know, I have some theories, and, you know, one of the things that, you know, is on the top of my thinking on that is how we're addressing, you know, the issues of our veterans. And one of the things that just seems apparent is that we try to solve problems with chemistry. And I just don't believe that is the correct path for helping our veterans in need. You know, I think one of the issues that I run into a lot, and obviously, you know, you have to think about which classes we're talking about. You know, there are veterans that have been, you know, injured, but I'm just talking about the ones that are struggling with just, you know, the stresses of life and post-military, you know, life. And one of the things that I see a lot is as you know, and a lot of your listeners know, you know, when you're in the military, you've got a sense of purpose. You've got, you know, rules for, you know, how you do your job. You have this, you know, most people that I've worked with, you know, actually without exception, you know, have this sense that, you know, they're very good at what they do. They're part of a team. They're doing something of consequence. They know that they've got a team that has their back. They know that they have their, you know, fellow military folks also, you know, have their back. So everybody is part of this cohesive unit that's well-defined, and, you know, there's this, you know, extreme sense of purpose. And what happens, you know, very often is you come out of military service and you don't have that same structure, you don't have that same sense of purpose, and often you don't have that same, you know, I'll say, you know, community, you know, that you had before, and that's tough for a lot of people. You need to have that, and so if you think of going from a real high ops tempo, important, you know, substantive living to something where you're doing something that is not, doesn't have that same reaction, that same sense of purpose, of course you're going to get depressed. And so one of the problems I think we run into is we try to treat that with chemistry, and that's just the wrong direction. What we need to find is you know, a sense of purpose. We need to find, you know, professions, occupations, things to do that still, you know, hit those same buttons, give that same sense of importance and that same sense of, you know, of relevance. And I think that's one of the things that we miss is we're not pushing programs that really help push our veterans into places that are in their comfort zones and give them that same sense of purpose. And we use chemistry, which obviously is not working. And, you know, like the doctor said earlier, you know, one of the side effects you see on a lot of these, you know, SSRIs, a lot of these chemicals that we're giving them to treat depression, you know, one of the side effects is may cause suicidal thoughts, suicidal tendencies. And why are we using that to help our veterans, where really I think we need to look at different programs that have nothing to do with chemistry?
To answer your question, why are we using that, I stated very clearly in my book, psychiatry and pharmaceutical industry generate $1/3 of $1 trillion a year peddling psychiatric medications.
All right. Dr. Billings, you have somebody that has a loud voice in Montana, and he's not afraid to use it, and that's one of the things I respect about you, Troy.
Thank you.
Troy, one of the things, I want to share this with you. I put 34 years in the military, and you're a veteran as well. The Marine Corps League contacted me a while back, and they said, we read your book, and the Chief of Staff of the Marine Corps League said that they wanted to do what they call Invisible Scars peer review, peer review book club. So they have group meetings, and every week they meet, and their task is to review one chapter in the book. I just got a letter, and I sent it to Ed, an email from them, and they've ordered hundreds of books. It's spreading like wildfire because now they have a guide. You know, in the military, we always had a guide for whatever we did.
Exactly.
And this fits. They have a guide. The peer group has a book that they're using, they're taking home, they're reading, and the email I got just warmed my heart because the reason I wrote this book was to save lives. They had a picture of the 22 people who were in the first group, and the caption said, "Thank you for writing this book. There's 3 people in this picture whose life you saved." Now, what that means is there are 3 people in that book that were commit suicide. I've heard this from law enforcement. A fireman said the same thing. He said, I was going to commit suicide. I read the book saved my life. They need a guide, and that's why I wrote this. This is a guide, just like, I had a guide when I had to assemble my rifle, assemble my pistol, every operation I did. Now we have a guide. But the problem is, Troy, post-traumatic stress is a normal reaction to being in an abnormal environment.
Yes.
Civilian or military. It could be even basic training, which is an abnormal environment for people. They wind up, when they exhibit a normal reaction to that abnormal environment, instead of putting them through an integrative program, which includes, like you said, vocations, counseling, et cetera, they wound up being drugged. And being drugged means the PTS winds up with a D at the end of it, and the D means that they have a disorder. That anybody with a D after PTS, I look at that D and say drugged, because that means somebody's drugging them. If there's a D at the end, PTS is normal. It can be dealt with. And in World War II, what did we have? We had battle fatigue. We didn't have battle fatigue disorder. Battle fatigue was a normal reaction. They got tired of fighting. That was normal. They didn't label with a disorder and drug them. So to get back to normal, if you're on mind-altering drugs, it is very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And, most people, if you just, not even, having the background that you have, can stand back and just understand that. Yes, there are, life has stresses. Being in the military has stresses. Going to boot camp has stresses. And reacting to that is, how anything alive grows. There's stress and there's a reaction and you grow. And I completely get that. You look at that as a disorder or something that needs to be treated, and you start throwing chemistry at it, you run into the problems that we're looking at right here. So I think we're, 100% on the same page there.
I'd be happy to work with you, Troy. Do me a favor. Go to the book website, which is BART, B-A-R-T-P, like in Patrick, Billings.com, www.bartpbillings.com. And there's editorials on there I wrote about a lot of what's going on. I mean, it'd take a day to cover, some of the things that I've discussed. But it's all there on the book website and as well as in the book. And the book is saving lives, so I appreciate your understanding of what's going on and the detrimental treatments that are being provided that aren't really helping our veterans.
Troy, I want to interrupt here. I know that you've been looking at this for years. I know that you have been working with the different foundations, and you've been a source of help for a lot of veterans. You've got one of the top experts in the country on mental health. What's the number one question you would ask him?
How do we combat this? Because I understand, the pressures, of pushing, the pharmaceutical responses to these reactions. But, this seems to me to be, an educational thing, as well as, we need to take control of our veterans coming out and add, vocational options rather than pharmaceutical options. And I think we need to be vocal about what those problems are, and even more vocal about what is clearly not working and what clearly is working.
Let me answer your question. The answer isn't a bill that McCain is trying to put through, and he got a lot of support as well as from Congress, the House of Representatives. And what that is it will state that when a veteran goes in to see a doctor and the doctor says, okay, I want to prescribe these psychiatric medications, the bill would state, number one, that doctor is required to tell them about all the adverse effects from that medication, and number two, the doctor is going to be required to tell them what alternative integrative treatments would be available instead of the medications. That is the answer.
Well, so I have one more question for you then. Obviously, when that doctor is seeing somebody coming in that's in a dark place, sometimes they're looking for, quick relief from that. And so what do we do? What tools do we give them to make the correct choice rather than what may seem like the easy choice?
The correct tool is somebody who can do integrative treatment, to refer them immediately to a therapist or a counselor who's going to provide the counseling and integrative treatment necessary and the education. Just when I see patients, just letting them know, and I've seen this over and over, that, they tell you, I'm depressed and this and that, I'm having nightmares. And my response is, I'm having nightmares. Well, that's normal. Well, I'm hypervigilant. That's normal. Well, I sit with my back against the wall. That's normal. And they look at me and they say, Doc, you mean there's nothing wrong with me? All these things are normal? Yeah, you're having a normal reaction to being in an abnormal environment. It's amazing the change you see when you tell them that's a normal reaction. They don't know that. Now, and if you give them drugs, now what you're doing is you're saying, you have a disorder. There's something wrong with you. There's not. So that's the important thing, is let them know that it's a normal reaction, and here are all the different kinds of things you can do. You're having nightmares, there's a treatment you can get within an hour or two, you can get rid of your nightmares. There's all kinds of integrated treatments without meds.
At River, we really work hard on acupuncture, dry needling.
Exactly.
All of these tools are available to the vets, and they can come in free of charge.
And the critical thing is to let them know, more than anything else, that's a normal reaction. That is so important. When they realize this is a normal if you did not have this reaction, you'd be a psychopath. 99% of people that go to combat have a normal reaction to combat. And to varying degrees. Some people can figure it out themselves. They have family, they have a job to go back to, et cetera. Other people may need a little bit of help. And that's what integrative treatment is. So anyway, I have a patient I have to get off to. Please don't hesitate to call me if you have any questions. Take a look at the book website. The book is Saving Lives, and the Marine Corps League quarterly magazine coming out in December. They did an interview with me, extensive interview, and they even may have a picture of the book on the front cover of the magazine. It's working for them. They're ordering hundreds, and it's spreading. They have a guide, just like we talked about in the military. They have a guide on how to deal with it. They never had that before. They get discharged from the military without any period of time or guidance. Now they found a guide.
Well, I appreciate your time, Dr. Billings.
Okay. Well, good luck. Good luck with your election, Troy. And if there's any way I can support you, don't hesitate to call me.
I appreciate that, and I'll be in touch, definitely.
We know what is not working, Troy. we know kind of what does work. There's a lot of different programs out there. How are we going to get these in the hands of the veterans? That's what I have a lot of struggle over every day.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is doing exactly what you're doing. You need to beat the drum. You need to let people know that these other options are available. The louder we get, the more we talk about this, the more people understand there are tools outside of the status quo, which is clearly not working. And I like a lot of things that were said today, because I think that one of the things that people will fall into is if you're in pain, if you're depressed, if you're not right, and somebody says, "Here, I'm going to give you a really easy out." It's easy to take that easy out if you basically say, "Hey, these are normal reactions to the type of environment you came out of, and here's some tools for coping with that, and here's some groups that will offer you those tools for coping with that and help you, grow as a human and have a normal, happy, post-military life." I think that's it. We need to just be vocal about it and make sure that that our veterans know that these types of programs are available, and clearly there's different programs for everybody's. We're humans. We're all in different places and have different issues, and there's a lot of different programs that help in different ways. And some of them are really about just waking our veterans up. Let me put you in a stressful environment, learn a new skill, understand that there is some things that you can still drive you post-military career. Other ones like the treatments that you guys are offering are obviously very helpful for a lot. We just need to get the word out there, and I'm just I'm very thankful that we do live in a community where there's so many people that care and so many people that put these programs together, donate their time, donate their money, and really help get our American heroes, our American veterans, our the people who have put themselves in harm's way to protect our way of life, and actually help them move on to the next phase of their life. I'm just very grateful that we have that, and I will continue being an advocate of programs that help them, and I appreciate the great work that you guys are doing.
Well, I appreciate that. Before we go, I want your website so the folks can know how to look you up.
Well, I appreciate that. My name's Troy Downing, running for U.S. Senate, and you can find me at troydowning.com. And that's TROYDOWNING.com.
You got a quick peek at the flags. What was your thought?
I thought it was a very tasteful, meaningful, heartfelt symbol, and I hope that resonates with the people that see that and make them think about this very real problem that we're seeing in America, and more so in Montana, and especially in your neck of the woods up in Missoula.
Well, I appreciate everything you've done for the vets again, and I'm going to support you along the way as much as I can, because we need change. Yes.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to be on your show, and I appreciate your support. And as always, you know how to get a hold of me, and let's keep the conversation going.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say to the listeners?
No, that's it. I think that it's important that we take care of our veterans. We're in a state that has one of the highest per capita veterans in our population. We've also got problems. We've got a very high level of veteran unemployment, and obviously what you're seeing is we're having a lot of issues with veteran suicides, veteran depression, and we need to take care of our own. And I'm hoping that I'll get the support of your listeners, and that I can be part of a solution to that problem.
Well, I know Jason's grandmother, Mrs. Entgraft, she's a really good Christian lady, and I know she's been praying for all of us. And let's give her a shout out, and hopefully she can get a prayer chain going for this program.
That always helps.
It does. All right. Thank you, Troy.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, it was a very interesting morning show this morning. Connor's in the studio this morning. Connor, what'd you think of the whole thing?
I thought that was an amazing show. It was great to hear from Troy and Dr. Billings. It was great to hear them talk and have a conversation and really kind of spread their knowledge and their advice about the subject.
we've been fighting this fight for a long time at the Institute, and it seems like old age and cheese, we do smell bad at times, but it can taste good. I really appreciate the listeners for listening to Veterans Heartbeat. Without your support, we wouldn't be here. And please, please reach out to a veteran. It's important this time of the year. Thank you.
And thank you again to Farside Signs for sponsoring the show. If you do need a unique vehicle design, swing on by and check them out. Also, thank you to our main sponsor, River. River has an array of services such as veterans-focused education, a vestibular disorder clinic, and now non-pharmaceutical treatments for pain, anxiety, and depression. Check them out on Facebook or on the web at riverofchange.org. Lastly, we'd like to show our appreciation to all of our veterans. Thank you for serving our country and keeping it safe.